Hello and welcome to this special little best segment that we've got here for the draft team tournament. We'll be doing little recaps and previews every week of the round to come. Today I'm joined by Pesto. Hello, Pesto.
Hello, Patty. Hello.
And we have Ninsanity on the camera. And we'll just quickly go through a few things here. So let's start off with maps. Pesto, if you want to take that away.
Yeah, so the first map for week one in this tournament will be Low Rise 1. The maps in this tournament do work on a loser pick system, meaning the maps they start off with one map, this week again being Low Rise 1, and then depending on the loser of that map goes on to pick the next map. So let's talk about Low Rise 1 first though. What are your thoughts on that map, Patty?
Yeah, low rise is a very interesting one. It's got got its pains. I think we'll find that Pyros will struggle a little bit just getting knocked off that platform, and offense can get there quite well, but it's a strong roaming map. Archer gets quite a lot of value across it. It's quite open, so I think we'll be seeing those leaders Archer picks really show up.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it is a really bad map for Pyro. Interesting to note that, I mean, everyone knows this by now, but it is different from the original version of Low Rise. The two key differences being that spawn area, that stalemate spot being ruined, not ruined, removed. And also like though that side sponge entrance, which leads to the top of the Low Rise roof, which kind of changes how like often support can like get and support in the flag room. That like enables a path for chemists and medics to get to the flag post quickly and quicker compared to the original version where they had to go up those staircases and whatnot. So interesting to see how each team will function on that map. Yeah.
Yeah, it would definitely be very synergy based. But being on that, we've got 6 RNG loser pick maps in a pool. That's very hard to explain. But essentially, these 6 maps are what the losers will be able to pick out of to go on to the second map. So these maps are Rundown, Bazaar 1, Skyworld 6, Blackout 2020, which will be 20 minutes, Castle Caverns 6, and Aquarium 1. So Aquarium 1 there being the newest addition to one of these map pools. We haven't seen that in the tournament before. Any thoughts on Aquarium, Pesto?
Yeah, I feel like after a lot of time, being a casual warrior on CTF with Phodia, Aquarium is a really fun map. I'm actually kind of excited to see how it does in comp. I mean, so far I haven't really heard anyone complain about the map being in the map pool. To be fair, it's not the only new map in the pool this season. But I'm interested in seeing how teams play on that map as well. It's been played in a few PPMs before, so I also wonder like whether or not this map will stay in the competitive pool even after this tourney or not. Um, but yeah, and then of course the other maps, Rundown, Bazaar, Skyroll, etc., etc. Everybody's played those maps by now. I don't really need to say much about those. Everyone already knows how those maps work and whatnot.
Yeah, I'll definitely be interested to see if any of the first map losers do end up going to Aquarium and what strategies are made throughout the tournament. So that being said, let's go on to the teams. So we've got our first matchup and our first team in Team Ryan, who have decided to name themselves the Meow Masters, which we'll abbreviate to MM, I think, if we ever want to talk about it quickly. So Pesto, thoughts on the Meow Masters?
Yeah, when we were commentating over the draft, a few weeks ago, I forgot how long that's been by now. I was interested in seeing how Ryan picked TV, as his pyro, considering Ryan himself is known for being a really good pyro. It was interesting that he picked him, because that would mean that Ryan himself would be playing, bulk roam or maybe even Sin, but I don't think he will considering he picked Chick D like the very first pick in the draft. Um, that being said, that does enable his team to have a really good roam with, as I just said, Ryan, Chick D, and then others such as Gaming Stocks, Obi, and I think an underrated archer in the game, Joker Knight. He's really good at what he does. He did drop a 70 bomb not too long ago in a PPM, I believe, on me and the rest of the offense that we had. So I'd say that Ryan is honestly like just right out of the gate one of my favorites into this tourney. Um, so yeah, what are your thoughts on Ryan's team?
Yeah, I think they're looking pretty strong. It'll be interesting to see where some people end up on roles in there, and um, I think specifically how the offense does. I guess I haven't really seen Tom 96785 play a lot of Medic O, so I'll be interested to see how that plays out. as in that's personally, I haven't really seen too much of it, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes and if they can succeed there. I think Carson and Justin are really great uh, players to play with each other, so I think it's going to be really fun to watch the Meow Masters and how they go. That being said, their first week matchup will be against Team Saiyan, otherwise known as Pretty in Pink, which we'll abbreviate to PIP, which has one of probably the strongest first defensive picks there. That's a pretty strong roam. Obviously, unfortunately, Alaska or 538 will be unable to participate in the tournament due to a variety of scheduling things. So I believe he's been replaced by Rain or Raxon. So that's an immediate downside for Team Evan. So it'll be interesting to see how that team now adapts. What are your thoughts on the Evans team and also that matchup, the Meow Masters versus Pretty in Pink?
Yeah, I think Evan's team, they're known for like having a lot of elves in their team, which I think is interesting. Obviously, as you said, Alaska losing Alaska is going to be a downside for them, especially on that defense. However, that pickup of Rain is really interesting. Obviously, Rain himself doesn't really play Ninja, but what he does play is Soldier O, and even though there's a lot of elf mains on that team, there aren't really that many soldier mains. And whether or not Rain is an actual like whether or not you consider him a soldier main or not, he does play a really good soldier O. So at least they got that out of losing Alaska. I don't really think it really compensates for losing that second round pick. But yeah, and they did just beat Fudia in a scrim recently, so I wouldn't sleep on them. It's gonna be an interesting matchup between them and the Meow Masters. But if I had to give an advantage to a certain team, I'd give it to Ryan's team, the Meow Masters. They just have a really good offense with those cappers and a really good roam. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So that is our first matchup for the week, and we'll move on to Team Cardona, otherwise known as the Suicide Squad, trademark pending. There's quite an interesting draft from Cardona. I think the community itself has had a few opinions on it, but I think still quite strong in some areas. It will be interesting to see. I think Miski's availability did become more free, so that fifth round draft pick becomes a bit more valuable. So, any thoughts on Team Cardona or the Suicide Squad?
Yeah, I think he definitely got a really good first round pick with Brandino. He is easily the best archer in the game, I think. And not only that, he's able to flex around different roles on defense, maybe even offense here and there. Um, Hearing that Miski like is available more now is good to hear for them. You know, I think people were talking about how Miski would only be available on Sundays in the tournament. Now that he's available, I know Nin on the camera right now. You know, him and Miski are one of the best offensive duos in CTF. So that's interesting to see. But something worth noting, or not worth noting, but like something interesting is what defensive roles are they going to play on that team? They obviously have Brandino and Urge, I'd say, but they also have other players like Mario and Calic and Code, Rejected or Dot as he's known by. There are a lot of other roles there that I'm interested in seeing and wonder how that defense will compare to other defenses that other teams would have. I think that's something that probably is the biggest question mark for me on Cardona's team. How about you? How about you, Patty? What are your thoughts on Suicide Squad?
Yeah, no, I think you've identified a really good area that it will be interesting to see. I think it's probably a defense that's not got a lot of big names that pop out immediately. I think Kobastion's a really great pyro and really good at recovery, so that's probably the one big player, as well as Brandino B, and participated, obviously being able to flex around a lot. So it'll be interesting to see how that off defensive synergy kicks in for that team, and if any of those players really begin to stand out. So moving on, I guess Pesto will get to find out what this defense is like to go up against, because they will be playing Food Tier or Team Food Court in their matchup. You can see the skin synergy slowly coming in for that team.
Mm.
How have you been
Yeah.
feeling on Food Tier, and how's the team preparing for this matchup against the Suicide Squad?
Yeah, I took off my Fudia team skin just for this broadcast specifically, so it's not showing up there. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I feel like skill wise, this is a really good team. You know, there are players like G Henry, Pick Three, Bub. You know, basically everyone besides Pesto. They're all really good skill wise. Um, the one thing this team has to like mark down, and honestly, what we know is that we have to like mark down mostly synergy as well as comms. I think once Fudia like marks down those two things, they're going to be a lethal team, and I think they're regarded as like perhaps one of the favorites in this tournament. I mean, that's definitely coming from other opinions, not mine. But yeah, I think it's a really good team. As I said, G Henry, easily the best pyro in the game. Bub, one of the best cappers. Food Court himself. Um, wait, Nin's on camera. He's one of the best med O's. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's a good team to see. What are your thoughts though? Because you're non-foodie, you probably have a more
Yeah, no,
unbiased opinion.
I agree. I was one of the I think I was the only person who was privileged enough to watch the scrim against Pretty in Pink, Food Tier versus Pretty in Pink that happened during the week, and it was interesting to watch. I do think that that synergy is going to have to be teased out over a while. I think there were a few moments there that you could see that it wasn't clicking just as well as it would have they would have liked to, but I think they'll get there, and I think Team Food Court will be a really formidable force throughout the tournament, or Team Futia, which is really hard to say. Anyway,
Mhm.
uh, we'll move on to Team Bosque here, or the Bosketeers, which we've just learnt their name is, which I think is an awesome name. Again, one of the more weirder drafts that we covered on the stream. A lot of quick opinions there that suggested maybe it was a bit strange. Any thoughts on Team Bosque coming into this week? I think there's a lot of decent talent in there. Actually, it'll just be interesting to see how they mush together.
Yeah, for sure. And we see that his first pick was Ozzy. Ozzy's, one of the best PvPers in the game right now. A lot of questions as to what role he's going to play because what role he's going to play, I feel like is going to be important for this team. He can play offense, he can play defense. I feel like Boss picked him to play defense, if I'm being honest, but I could be wrong. That's just how I feel. Um, but yeah, I mean, if Ozzy is playing offense, I mean, if he is playing defense, I'm curious as to who their cappers will be, or like who their elf will be. He picked Czech and XXX, who are both really good soldiers, but they're more known for playing like that sort of second soldier role on an offense. They're not really known for being like that first soldier that we see in players like Justin or Bub, etc., etc. And besides that, he didn't really pick an elf, it seems like, on this team, besides Ozzy. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit interesting. But I feel like he has some good picks here, some sleeper picks such as Border or Katie or Beastwan and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, definitely a good first three picks though with Ozzy, Caro, and Seagull. Those are three really good players. Just big questions here and there. I'd say.
Yeah, that's if all three of them were on defense, there's just it's just a bunch of brick walls, really. It's going to be hard
Yeah,
to get through, and if Bosque ends up picking out some of these maps that are a bit more PvP focused, it's going to be a hard time for anyone they come against.
yeah,
That being said, they will be coming up against Team Sam or Sam's Club, um, which will be their matchup for this week. Team Sam had a pretty good draft, I believe. There's those first two in Dave and Danny. That's a pretty strong ninja duo for me. And Dave has really good defensive leadership. So off the bat, really strong defense coming in for that team, as well as the DF offense. So I think it will be interesting to see how that matchup goes against the Bosketeers. I feel like Sam's Club will have a pretty good game if all their members are able to show.
yeah, for sure. I feel like this is honestly like my favorite team going into this tourney. That's a really dangerous defensive roam there with Danny, Dave, and Nick and Zia and whatnot. And as well as that DF synergy on offense with Spart, Link, Cup, Snowbreak, Snowboard, etc. But yeah, I mean the thing that like a lot of the community is pointing out is as long as this team doesn't tilt, because I feel like what people have noticed is that a lot of these players are kind of known for tilting in calls and whatnot. Um, I'd say as long as they don't tilt and they just play their game, beat the mental game, whatnot, they're gonna go places. And as I said, they're honestly probably my favorite team going into this tourney.
Yeah, I think availability may screw them over, but I do think they've got a lot of strength there, and it'll be really good to see some of those players shine through. It'll be interesting to see if those later draft picks get to play in as well, get some playtime, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Team Sam performs throughout the tournament. So those are our three matches: the Meow Masters versus Pretty in Pink, Suicide Squad versus Futia, and the Bosketeers versus Sam's Club. And our last team, Team Trenny, or Tren and Jerry's, if they've become known, are having a bye this week, so they won't be participating in week 1, but they will be in week 2. Team Trenny is my team, so I like them a lot. So, Pesto, what are your thoughts on Team Trenny?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a team I wouldn't sleep on. I think there's a lot of good players here. Um, that B2 and Avitas Ninja duo is going to be is going to be really tough to face. If you're an elf, watch out. Thankfully, 93 himself is on the same team as them, so good for him. Um, and then there are other players such as Trini himself, Cheese playing Archer or Shaman playing Archer, you, Gia at Med D, Mystic playing Bulk probably. Um, so yeah, the thing I'm interested in seeing is what their options will look like. I think obviously Leo will probably play that soldier, sometimes heavy role. 93 playing Elf, I'd have to assume, though he can just like Ozzy, he can definitely flex around different roles. He's really good at PvP. Um, and then there were some other players there that we haven't really aren't really as popular in the DF community, but I know have been putting in a lot of work with Team Fallen. Their names being Epic Man and Agekin. I think those two players might show up for this team as starters. If so, I mean that'd be awesome to see. I mean, awesome to see, those sort of less known players from, lesser known teams, or not lesser known, but like teams that aren't, I guess, as prominent in the community showing up in the draft tourney here. So it's an exciting team to see. Um, and yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts since you're, as you say, you're a member of the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty much right after the draft when he said that his goal was to not only draft good players, but players that were pretty chill and had good vibes. And I think that's been the atmosphere around the team so far. Everyone's pretty chill, and we're all kind of just having a good time. We had a pretty good scrim the other day against the PPM team, which obviously wasn't ideal because of the player pool that was available for the PPM, but yeah, I think we're all having a really good time, and I'm enjoying team training, and I think that's probably one of the best things going through draft team tournament is that you get to make a few new friends, you get to play with a few new players, and yeah, like you said, give opportunity to people who are on teams who don't get as much opportunity to play as uh, others. So yeah,
Yeah,
I really like team training. I like being around them, and I think we'll have a good tournament no matter what happens, no matter the results. But yeah, I think honestly we're quite strong and could probably you know go the rounds with every other team.
they're a
Not saying
sleeper
that
team
we'll
for
win
sure.
every time, but yeah, I think it'll always be competitive.
For sure.
Um, but yeah, that's pretty much week 1. That's pretty much all we have there. So those are your matchups coming up, and yeah, I guess thank you for joining us for this little desk preview recap type shindig. Pesto, thank you for joining me today.
Thank
Very
you.
kind of you. And Insanity, thank you for jumping in on the camera. It's been a lot of fun, and we hope to see you in the draft team tournament.
Oh shit, I pushed him. My bad, Nin.
We'll see you in the next match. Thank you.